What's up YouTube? It's Professor Kelso, but nobody calls her that. Today I want to talk about rolling, which is essentially the entire core of what we do in training modalities. I can say from experience, I've trained in multiple states and another country as well. Most people roll too damn hard. If you can hear this, you probably roll too damn hard. And a quick litmus test for that is, are you aware of different training modalities? Can you explain different ways to roll, what different types of roll are, what objective rolls are, without even getting into CLA or different objectives like that? I'm referencing your intensity, your intentions related to your intensity. So the way I look at it is, I'll give you a quick scenario. If you enrolled in a school, a very small group of your friends, and you train together over the years, and you all reached the skill level of black belt, and you guys became basically interchangeable in skill level, you wouldn't have the need to fill this pecking order so much. There would be a relaxation of the ego when any one person could relatively beat the other person a 50-50 chance. But if the stipulation was that you had to train together 7 days a week, 365, think about how you would take care of yourself and your partner, and how you would tap without regard for ego, right? That's achievable. And that doesn't matter regardless of what the color of the cloth is around your waist. Most people don't compete. Most people who train Jiu-Jitsu do not compete. And so therefore, competition to them is quote unquote beating someone in their classroom environment. It might be the person you just submitted gave you the arm lock because they're working on their escapes. There might be mitigating circumstances. They might be working around injuries, and you can give yourself false positives by just using overwhelming force on a smaller person, even though they've been training longer than you. So without even talking about power scaling or ranking people up, let's just first start with, we train Jiu-Jitsu to get better at Jiu-Jitsu. And so because most people don't compete, and most people are just into Jiu-Jitsu to get better at Jiu-Jitsu, the majority of your training time, you should use as little amount of force as necessary to achieve the objective and outcome. So the least amount of intensity to perform the technique, and it still works. And so some people are gonna say, oh, I totally get it, bro, that's flow rolling. No, flow rolling is having no regard for outcome whatsoever. It's kind of useless in that you don't care if you get your guard passed, you don't care if you get submitted, you just tap and keep right on rolling. It doesn't really quote unquote matter. You just want to be on the mats. Now, flow rolling can be a useful tool if you're coming back from injury, if you're recovering from something. If you're hilariously mismatched, I expect the larger person to be playing guard and just letting the other person work them and armbar them, and maybe you work on late stage submission escapes. But you just have the minimal amount of resistance and the minimal amount of intensity, but there's no regard for the outcomes. But that's not helpful for getting better at Jiu-Jitsu and working on timing and working on escapes. So a standard model of Jiu-Jitsu should be the least amount of intensity to be effective. Then you have scrimmaging. Scrimmaging is different. Scrimmaging is where we've both agreed that we're going to simulate the conditions of a match. We're going to use the maximum amount of our attributes, of our speed, of our intensity, and within the realms of safety. So in other words, if I'm locking a submission, this is still my training partner who I want to train with tomorrow. I'm going to apply gradual, consistent pressure, and if they refuse to tap, then I'm going to have a conversation like, dude, you know you should have tapped to that. That was a fully locked submission. So competing is completely different. They signed the waiver, and that's a whole separate video. But the scrimmaging is where it would matter, so to speak. You're trying to reach the outcome of simulating a competition match or simulating a fight. And so under the auspices of a scrimmage, yes, you're going to use more of your intensity, your speed, and really have a better idea of assessing yourself versus persons of similar or higher rank. So hopefully that gives you something to think about, that you're not just rolling aimlessly, that you can be productive with your rolls, you can be productive with your partner selection, even with mismatches. You can learn while doing Jiu-Jitsu. You can use your time rolling to work on very specific things. The other person might not know the entire roll. You might just be working on your knee-elbow connection. You might just be working on your shrimping. You might be working on your framing. You might get tapped 15 times, but by golly, your knee-elbow connection is what you're working on for the day, and they didn't pass your guard. That doesn't mean you didn't get leg locked, however. So, as always, I hope you found some value in this presentation. My compensation for this presentation is your participation. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope to see you all on the mat soon. Peace.